Pecha Kucha 15, Apotheon, and iterative drawing. I wouldn't say it's been the most productive week, but I have done some things this week that I think that will lead to a very productive year. Um, as long as I can keep them going and push things forward. So the first subject of discussion, Apotheon, indie game made by less people than it took to do the voice acting. Set in ancient Greece. In fact, the best way to give you the synopsis is to simply say it's God of War on a budget. 2D, um, actually quite long. The art style is very interesting. It's a lot like those Greek vases you see in like museums where you turn them around, and as you turn around, it tells you a story. I think that's kind of the crux of the art design. It uses the art style and the kind of sensibilities of those vases. I think the character models are animated probably with something like spine. It's a simple game. It plays into the kind of art aesthetics. It's very cohesive. It's actually quite a fun game. It can be challenging, but it isn't really. One key point is that a lot of people are suspiciously naked, and you see their junk. This means that I guess in theory this makes this game art, because I can't imagine any game getting away with showing especially dudes' junk um, past the Peggy censors if it's not art. So iterative drawing, Psychra tutorial guide talks about effectively doing the same thing again and again and looking at how you do it, analyzing it, and then trying to extrapolate without reference how to improve. Just look at things and think what's wrong. So I kind of did the same thing. He was talking about faces. I decided to do faces. I was just messing around with nose position, shape of the eyes. When you're foreshortening, how extreme can you get with like the relationship of like the nose to the eyes to the mouth? By the end, I kind of didn't know what I was doing. Not that I did at the start, and ended up drawing Akuma. So I decided to apply this to drawing Onikage because I needed to draw him for something this week. So I, did a couple of pages of him without reference, tried to figure out, what should his eyes look like, what's the hair, the lips. I remember him from Tenchu 3. It turns out that's not what he looked like in Tenchu 1. So when I finally did go looking for reference, it turned out I was drawing him pretty wrong. The Tenchu 1 version, I liked his sensibilities, so that's kind of what I stuck with. It was very enjoyable to actually go looking for reference and get things right. That's kind of at the heart of the Smiley Show when I do guests. So the reason I was looking for Onikage is because I was going to do a tennis comic, page by page, switching with someone else, and the entirety of the plot is Onikage goes shoe shopping. So I just kind of thought, what is this in my head? Roughed out some kind of layout for the first page. This is what I settled on. Used an awful lot of kind of copying and pasting for the shoes and like Photoshop straight line, hold shift and all this stuff. So I kind of used a lot more specific techniques than I thought I would have for something that was supposed to be intentionally kind of spontaneous. Here's it with the color. The layers in this thing are such a hot mess. I really need to get organized when it comes to this, because if I had to go back and change things, it would be a nightmare. So I'm fortunate in this instance that it's effectively the first page done, I pass it on, and then the second page is somebody else's problem. I started my dissertation this week, watched Sunset Boulevard. It has no detectives. It's not got any strong Germanic lighting or whatever, but it's very much a film noir, as defined by Paul Duncan, a book of his I'm reading. He defines film noir as something that contains a doomed love story, and you just see how bad it gets by the end. This film contains no less than 4 doomed love stories involving these people, the main cast, and at least one other person. Very good film. Very good. Something else I've been watching a lot of is Karl Pilkington making Ricky Gervais laugh. It's not just that Karl Pilkington says silly things, it's that Ricky Gervais loses his mind every time he says something. The idea of the podcast and just, as content, and just you know, another thing is I found out about this because it was originally a radio show that was given a turned into a TV show because they animated the characters, and I think there's a lot of mileage here to think about looking forward for things I could do. Um, yeah, another YouTube thing I saw was famous mangaka drawing, you know, their things. What was there? Yu-Gi-Oh, Vagabond, Akira Toriyama with Goku. Really, it's interesting to see how they do these things, what scale, how long it takes. But the real takeaway is Takahiko Inoue, the guy who does Vagabond. He does very simple roughs from the look of it, and then with a paintbrush adds all of the detail in one go. It's staggering. He is about 50, and I imagine he's been doing this for so long that this is how he's shorthanded it too after so long. But he is a truly magnificent manga artist, and it he puts more effort into his grass than I do into my entire life. I would like to emulate this man in some regard. Aim high, as they say. If you only go halfway, you're still in the middle. So what do I need to do moving on? Continue with my dissertation. I've made good progress, but you know the deadline's it's not as far away as it seems. Continue this Onikage tennis thing. It's just great to just do something, you know, no pressure, except the pressure of you just wanting it to be awesome. You know, practice like that iterative drawing. I should really work on hands and body postures, composition. It's great because you can apply it to anything. You just do simple thumbnails, and then you just try and say, hey, what's working, what isn't, and then do more simple thumbnails. Uh, and of course, I have a backlog of university stuff because I'm spending my time doing other things that are actually interesting me. So, a lot to do. Looks like it's going to be a good year. And let's just get on with it. So that wraps up Pecha Kucha 15. See you next time.